Welcome in everybody, and today, a little bit of a different video today. Whether you're a part of this channel, have been watching the Vikings franchise, or the California only kind of challenge franchise, I guess you could say. This has definitely been a Madden channel for pretty much the most part. I have played a little bit of Assassin's Creed when the channel first started, but haven't done that for months. Been mostly all about Madden, and obviously Madden 23 is coming out. As I'm recording this, I believe it's about a month and a day until it comes out, so it's basically right around the corner, and we're going to be talking about obviously Madden 23 today because there's been a lot of information that has come out about the franchise updates. So we'll be going over that using kind of two different sources, but kind of also just one. We'll be using Madden's actual website here, EA Sports website, where they have this blog post, and then everything that you see I'll link down in the description below, whether it's to this website or to the video that I took some screenshots of that I'll share with you kind of as we go through this. But really want to talk about this because obviously big changes are happening, and it is about time with Madden franchise. It's been basically the same year in, year out. They made some changes in the last Madden 22. Now when it was released, those weren't really installed yet. We had to wait until we could finally get some updates, and then even then it was kind of broken a little bit. So hopefully Madden 23, since they have the updates all kind of put together, it looks like, before it's coming out, hopefully when it actually does come out, it'll work and then we'll be good to go. But we'll only be able to tell that once Madden 23 actually comes out. But from what we could tell so far, definitely some big things that I am excited for. So without me rambling on too much, let's actually jump in a little bit here to what's happening. So obviously franchise is what we're talking about, and a lot of changes have happened, specifically when it comes to free agency is a big one. There's some UI adjustments, some screens have been changed, tweaked, a little pizzazz added to them, a little here and there, and then draftees and draft logic updated. So we'll start off with free agency. Free agency is a big update here, and they're trying to make it more realistic, which obviously we like. We want to have a realistic kind of atmosphere, realistic things happening when we're trying to replicate real life. So with Madden, we are getting the update to free agency, and there's a lot that you could read here. Like I said, I will link this all down in the description below so you could read through it. But some of the big ones to note: player motivations are going to be huge when it comes to actually trying to sign in new players. And I'll pop a screenshot up here so you can see what it looks like. And again, I grabbed this from the actual video itself that they have released, and I will put this or link it to their YouTube video to this YouTube video. But this is kind of what it looks like in the free agency. You're going to have motivations over on this left-hand side. They also have some tags that we'll talk about shortly, but motivations are going to be a big one and actually kind of help get people to join your team. Before in Madden, it was strictly just throw the money at them, and for the most part, whoever offered the most amount of money was who that player really went to. Sometimes you would offer more money than some other teams and they would still go to the other teams, but looks like they're tweaking that here. Motivation is going to be a big one, and they'll kind of show you here if you're kind of hitting that, if you are having that met, and then it'll be red if you're not hitting that. So I'll pull back up the browser thing here, and you can see some of the different motivations that players will have, whether they're chasing a Super Bowl chase, historic championships, head coach historic record, whether they fit scheme. There's a bunch of different ones here. Mentors are also a big one. Players are wanting to play for a team that has a franchise quarterback. We've seen that happen a lot in real life, where like Rob Gronkowski has continually followed wherever Tom Brady's gone. He's now retired again. Gronkowski. We had Tom Brady come out of retirement, so we'll see how long he stays in, but a bunch of different ones here. And again, you could go to the website or pause the screen to read these. Again, link will always be down in the description below. So that is a big change. And then also player tags they've added, and I'll bring up another screenshot here that from a different player. It'll show off the player tags. So a big one here, especially for a young guy like this one, is Jamar Chase. We have day one starter. So for this one, and they talk about it in the video that EA released, but basically with this one, it's going to change up the logic for the CPU. So if players are drafted and they have a player tag like day one starter, they will actually get placed in the depth chart higher than those who might be actually a little bit higher but older. So teams are unlikely to draft a replacement, also another good thing, and then will be placed above similarly rated players on the depth chart. So let's say like Jamar Chase here, 87. If there is another receiver that might be like 88, 89, you might see Jamar Chase get placed above them in the depth chart, so that way they're out on the field more, they're getting that development that they need to become a superstar, not dev player, but just a superstar player, someone that is widely known across the league, always in like the top 10, that kind of thing. So different tags that we will see here when I bring back up that the blog post, I guess. So like some different things, player tags, it's basically a way to modify the UI, or not the UI, the logic, so that teams aren't really being stupid is the only way to really put it. So there's different ones like award winner. So like if you have a quarterback that wins MVP, he'll get that, which can affect if teams end up wanting to keep him. If you have him placed on the trade market, people will offer more, kind of things like that. Franchise quarterback, bridge quarterback, kind of like Teddy Bridgewater has been a bridge quarterback for several different teams at this point. A quarterback of the future. So a bunch of different ones here. Again, you could read all about these in the blog post. Just trying to do a quick overview really of it. I don't want to take away from their video, but just highlight them and then talk about what we're going to do on the channel in the future, especially with Madden 23. There's also some updates, again, like I said, to UI. So we're going to have a new contract negotiation screen, and they did add rollover cap. So any cap you did not use in the previous year can now roll over to that next year. But again, I'll pop up a screenshot here of what that contract screen will look like. So this one, we are using JJ Watt. And they've kind of put together a few different options when it comes to offering contracts. You can do a customized one, which is basically what we've done in Madden every year prior, where we can put however many years we want, the salary and the bonus, completely custom. We do whatever we want. There are also a few other ones that they've put in that basically make it either a team-friendly, player-friendly, or just a neutral like we see here. This one is placed at neutral with the screenshot that I grabbed. But unfortunately, I was really hoping that they would go a little bit further, and maybe they will in the next Madden or maybe in an update. I have no idea. But one thing I would really love for them to add, and this is on the right track to that, but I want them to add something that would allow us to be able to front load, neutral, or back load contracts. So that way we could have, let's say you had JJ Watt on a 3-year contract, and I'm just going to throw out random numbers. I don't think he would necessarily take it. I'm just going to say a 3-year, $30 million contract, and then you could have it set up to where it's $10 million each year, or you could front load it, have it be 15, and then lower as you get through the contract, or back load it and have it be $5 million the first year, then $10 million the second, and then 15 the third. Things like that. You can do the vice versa, because that broke down much easier than I thought it was going to, or actually I knew it would be, which is why I said 30, but it doesn't matter. But I wish that is something that they would add or did add. Maybe we'll see that in the future. I think the step here to kind of help players make contracts, whether they're team-friendly, player-friendly, neutral, or custom, I think that is a step in the right direction. Again, just would like to see them add that front load, neutral, or back load of contracts, just to make things a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer, kind of give a variety here for us while we are trying to make realistic contracts. Also, one thing I would also like to have them add is that players request trades, because obviously that happens a lot nowadays. Now, I know if you're a FIFA fan, they have that where players can request trades based off of morale, I believe, and that can kind of get a little iffy sometimes, but I think there's ways to make it work well, maybe even if it's a slider or something, that I would like to see them added, again, just for that realism kind of touch that we could add to it. Again, a lot of things that are happening here are a step in the right direction. But there's some other things that are also updated that I won't go too much into, but there are some other upgrades that I will touch on, like scouting is going to get an update, which basically the main one is that they, for the most part, will have at least one scout for each level, being the 1, 2, or 3, as you can see with the tiers here, the 2-star, 3-star, 1-star scouts for each position. So no longer will you have a draft class that there might be some really good at, let's say, offensive tackles, but you go to hire a scout to help you scout those players and there aren't any available. That's happened to me several times. I don't know if it was the Vikings franchise or the California only challenge, but several times that has happened where there just wasn't a coach, or not a coach, but a scout to scout a position that I really wanted to look at. So that should no longer be an issue with that update. They're adding a bunch of scouts, so we should be good there. And there's some other updates as well to the scouting. Again, this will all be linked in the description. They're also combining some groups. So like running backs will be halfbacks and fullbacks, offensive tackles left and right, interior offensive linemen, which is great because a lot of the times interior offensive linemen get moved around. Sometimes even guards and tackles do as well. They combined the left ends, combined outside linebackers. I would like to see that updated to be D-line and edge rush, because nowadays you have guys that really can play either spot. Like Danielle Hunter, talking about Vikings in real life. Past few seasons, he's played left end, but now with the new coach, new scheme, they're switching over to a 3-4. Now he's an outside linebacker. It really needs to be updated to edge rush and then interior linebackers in terms of left ends, outside linebackers, and middle linebackers. And they also combine safeties, so free safeties and strong safeties just go under safeties. Now there are, which is fantastic and it was much needed, they're updating how we get the attribute reveals. So in Madden 22, basically you would have a scout that you would select for a certain position, and that would just be an increased percentage of scouting happening for that player. You would still get, I believe, up to 40% of each player, I believe, by the time the end of the season had come by. Now it's changing a little bit to where it's not just random attributes that are shown. So a quarterback who, by the end of the season, if you didn't have that quarterback scout, you would find out that he had A, stiff arm, C, carrying, and I don't know, F, juke move, maybe. Instead now, because those really didn't matter. Really, for quarterbacks, you want to know how well they could throw. If they could run, fantastic. We'll find that out after. But for the most part, for like quarterbacks, you want to know what their short throw accuracy is, medium, deep, if they can really sling the ball downfield, if they have play action, stuff like that. So now they've tweaked it to where you're actually going to get those key attributes primarily before any of the other ones. It might be a little bit varying. And one thing that I do really like, I'm going to highlight or kind of mouse wheel over this paragraph here. They've kind of changed it again. Really nice improvement. Additionally, when you reach 50% scouted on a prospect, any remaining unknown attributes will convert from a question mark to a 3-letter range. So like down here with their screenshot on here, we see break sack is a question mark. Once you get up to that 50%, it could be A through C, just as a random one to throw out. Now when you get to 70%, it'll shorten from that 3-letter range to 2, so that could go down to then a CB or BC. I don't know exactly what way they're going to have that shown per se, just because I haven't seen any screenshots about that. But really nice addition there. That's going to help us get a better idea, really, a more realistic way of scouting, where you might not know for certain how a player will be, but you kind of can guess. And when they're just a question mark, there's no guessing there. It's just, you do not know. So really nice improvement there, and really glad to see that. There also is going to be some improvements to draft classes, and by primarily what they mean here by improvement to draft classes, there's just some new templates kind of that they've put in that are going to help create a little bit more variance from class to class and make it, again, more real life comparatively, at least to their counterparts. So here are some of the, I guess, the 4 groupings of the new templates. There's going to be generational prospects, 99 club prospects, which do not mean that you're going to draft a 99 overall. That means that they can come in with a rating that is 99 overall. So they talk about here, quarterback could be coming in with 99 throw power, or receiver with 99 spec catch, safety with 99 hit power. That does not automatically mean that these players will be elite, just means that they will have a really good excel at a particular skill. So they could still end up being like a 60 something overall, but they're just really good at one particular thing. So it could be good for in terms of kind of role players on a team. They're really good at that role. Another option that they have is high variance prospects, which means they could either be really good, really bad, kind of just depends on if you're able to develop them or if they just end up kind of becoming a bust. And then there's going to be specialist prospects as well. And we've kind of had this a little bit with Madden. That I'll use middle linebackers for an example. You'll have some middle linebackers that you draft that are run stoppers, and that is it. They cannot cover. They are a liability, or the opposite. They could cover really well, but ask them to stuff the run and they're going to get blown up by a pulling guard. So we've kind of seen that before. I think we just might see a little bit more of that. I feel like these specialist prospects are going to be a little bit more of developmental players / backup, fill out the roster, maybe a little bit of some whatever that word was I just used for the high variance one, role players. That's it. So definitely some tweaks that have happened. I'm really interested in the generational prospects, and I did grab a screenshot to show of what one of those players can look like. This is of a receiver, Julius Ash, that was drafted by the Lions in, I'm assuming, what was a sim or something of the franchise. And we see here, these are his ratings as drafted. 85 catching. He also has a lot of speed and acceleration, but he comes in with 93 catch in traffic, does have a +3 boost, but 91 spectacular catch, 80 short route running, 89 release, 90 agility, 99 jumping. So a really good player, comes in 86 overall. So fantastic. And I believe, if I want to say, these ones are high prospect standards will also come with a guaranteed X Factor dev trait. So these guys are going to be fantastic and can greatly turn around a team, whether they're like the lowest overall in Madden or just a really young team and struggling to kind of gain a foothold in their division or something. These generational prospects would come in and make an immediate impact. And then there's, along with all of these different things, there's going to be a difference in, like I said, the draft and trade logic. They did also update trade logic to where now when you place a player on the trade block, you don't have to wait a week for the CPU to be like, oh yeah, we can make an offer. There'll be an offer that same week. So really good there. I really like a lot of these changes or updates that they've brought in. And in terms of UI, I've talked about that several times. Some screens are getting different looks. This is going to be the new look for the free agents screen, or menu, I guess. Yeah, menu would be the correct word here. And it kind of has different areas that you could look at to kind of break things down. So here are their motivations. Do they fit what you offer? If so, like I said, it'll be green. If not, it'll be red. It also has the market watch. So have they been signed? Are their teams interested? Contract terms. This can also look like expected contracts. So what you should be looking to offer. And they also have changed it. You'll see over here in the active negotiations. At least I don't know if you actually see my cursor for all of this, but at least above the player screenshot here, you have the active negotiations. At stage 3, it's unlimited. You could offer as many contracts as you want. In stage 2, you have 10 offers you can make, and in stage 1, you only have 5. So a big difference here compared to the previous years where you could just go in and offer as many contracts as you wanted throughout free agency. Tweaked it a bit. So now it makes it, again, more realistic, because the first period, the first week or so of real life free agency, teams are going hard after the top end talent. Then once the top guys all kind of go, then you get into that stage 2 where you start filling out a couple spots, you may have not been able to grab that number 1 guy. You could look at getting down to number 2 to like number 5 kind of guy varying. And then stage 3 is you got to fill out your roster, fill it up with backup roles, key kind of role player kind of guys, or if someone ends up popping up late, you know, there's that option. Although I don't believe they'll really have that in Madden. That's more of just a realistic realism, real life thing where a player partway through free agency is like telling his team, you got to let me go. I don't think they'll have that in Madden. At least you could put it in for your own team. We've done that with our Vikings franchise where we forced a trade with DJ Chark, who was on the team. He had a really good year. We won our 3rd Super Bowl. He said he wanted some more money or he wanted to be traded, so we traded him. You could definitely do that yourself with your own franchise, and that might be something that could come at a later point. Like I said, I would love to see Madden put in some sort of player trade request logic, just again, make it a bit more realistic. But for the most part, that's all the screenshots that I have pulled up. There's again a lot more that is all on here. And again, I will link this all below as I just scroll back up here so you can take a quick look. Again, pause the screen if you want to kind of see what it is, if you don't want to go to the links or whatever. But I will again have this blog post linked and the, I believe it's about an 8-minute video that EA posted on their YouTube channel so that you can watch. They go a little bit more in depth with the certain bits and pieces of the update here, but really wanted to kind of highlight at least the things that I was looking forward to with the next Madden, because that's going to influence a little bit about what we're going to do next on this channel when Madden 23 comes out. So now using Madden 22 here to help kind of display a little bit of what I'm going to be talking about. Now we're transitioning a little bit into the what are we going to be doing in the future with these updates. And we want, to the most part, we're going to continue doing on this channel. Gonna not switch to just this channel versus Madden 23 in general. On this channel, we are going to continue doing our traditional not traditional Vikings, but we have been doing the Vikings, but our traditional franchise series along with some more state-only challenges. I really enjoyed the California one. At this point, as I'm recording this, I've already finished recording the series. So if you haven't watched it, start watching it. Go back. There's a playlist. Start from the beginning. It's a great series. I really enjoyed it, which is why we're going to continue doing it with more states. I've already broken down all of the states into their different groups, and we'll talk a little bit about how you could be a part of choosing which ones we'll do next, but talking specifically about the traditional franchise that we'll be doing on Madden 23, at least the first one. We might do a couple, but there's a couple different options that we could go through. At least for me, I would like to either do one that is taking over the youngest team in the NFL, the oldest team in the NFL, or the lowest overall in the NFL. So if we're talking about lowest overall in Madden 23, you could go through and it always shows what the overall is. I want to say Madden 22 was probably, I think, the Dolphins that were the lowest overall. They were a 78. You also had the Falcons, who were a 78. Oh, the Giants were actually a little bit lower. The Jaguars were 75. The Lions were not the lowest overall. Bit of a surprise. So there was a 75, and Texans were 76. So if this was Madden 23 and we decided to do the lowest overall, we would be starting a franchise with the Jacksonville Jaguars. However, I did a little bit of research. I don't know if it's completely accurate or not. I would need to do a little bit more research. But I did find one article talking about all the different NFL teams and kind of gave a little bit of a breakdown. I won't link this one below. But it said that the youngest team in the NFL, at least in terms of average age of the players on the team, was the Miami Dolphins. So if we wanted to do the youngest team, which basically would mean we're not making as many big adjustments to the roster, more so trying to develop the young talent that's on that roster, if there is young talent on the roster, or we could do the opposite, go with the oldest overall age, which this one shows as the New England Patriots, which makes sense because Bill Belichick really likes to bring in a lot of older guys and not really as much younger guys, which is interesting. It's a different tactic. I prefer bringing in younger guys. So if we decide to go with that series, we'd be taking over. Again, I would need to verify that it's the New England Patriots, the oldest team, that is. And basically, it would end up probably being a complete overhaul of the roster after a year or two or so. So the team, by the end of the series, will be completely of our own. Versus, again, if it's the youngest team, more developing. It could be very similar to the active roster going into the next series or the start of Madden 23. So different options there. Or like I said, you go with the lowest overall, which means there might be some players, like if it was the Jaguars, I really like Miles Jack. Josh Allen's also really good. There's plenty of guys that we could potentially keep, but then reform the rest of the team. So a lot of different options that we could do then that I will look to do, but I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. So the best way to really kind of influence what we do next on the channel here is to actually go over to my Twitter. It is always linked down in the description below. You can see also the name. If I look over at the other screen, you can see it's right there, BigBearB_gaming. You could follow over there, and in the coming weeks, as we get a little bit closer to Madden 23's release, I'll be tweeting out a lot of polls, so that way you have an option to tell me what it is that you want to see next on this channel. Obviously, it's going to be a traditional franchise as well as the state-only sim type franchise challenge that if you do watch, in the description of all those episodes, the rules of that series always in the description. So if you, I'm not going to bring it up here, but if you want to see what those are, you can always go check out that series. Like I said, there is a playlist on the channel for it, but we will continue both of those. The polls that will be posted will be you helping decide, are we going to start the traditional franchise with the youngest team, the oldest team, or the lowest overall team? I don't want to go in just with a really good team. I want to make that team a bit of our own, develop some youth, and really make it to where by the end of the series, that is only something that you would see on this channel, really. So that is the first round of the traditional franchise voting. Will be oldest, youngest, or lowest overall. From there, I'm also going to bring out some more polls. Do you want to see us turn that team into a run-heavy team, an air raid team? Do we want to try to create a read option style of playbook and run that in Madden and see how well we can do? Do we want to run 3-4 or 4-3? Do we want to run multiple? All those kind of things will be polls that, again, I want to see what you guys have to say. In the Vikings traditional franchise that we have currently going, we took a team, obviously the Vikings are my favorite team, so we won't be doing another Viking series at least for a while, since we started off the channel with that Viking series. But we turned what was kind of a bit of a middle of the road roster. There were a lot of older guys, aging guys. We still have some aging guys on the team right now, but kind of gave quite a bit of overhaul to a lot of positions of need and turned it into a well-balanced attack with a really good running game, good passing game, a defense that for the most part has been very dominant. So if you guys wanted to see that continue, we could also vote to have a balanced attack rather than the air raid or run heavy or read option. So those will all be in the polls. Now, in terms of the states only, like I said, have put together a list as I pull it up here of all of the different state groupings, because not every state could you have solely of itself. So I have in total 17 groupings. We've already, like I said, I've already completed the recordings of the California only challenge. So I've marked that one off. So we have 16 more that we need to do. And I'll leave that up to you guys. I'll select probably 4 of these and put it in a vote. So it could be, do we finish off the West Coast and do a Pacific Northwest states only, which would include Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Wyoming? Or do we try to do some more singular states? Do we do a Texas only? Do we do a Louisiana, Florida, Georgia? So I think those are actually the only ones. Florida. Oh, I do have Ohio as their own. So there are 4, I think, more state only, where it is strictly just one state rebuild. So that'll be another poll coming soon. Again, Twitter is where you can go to vote. It'll always be linked at the bottom of the description in all of my videos. And also my link over to TikTok is also there, where I just post highlights of the series that are currently going. It's primarily for the traditional franchise series, with the sim ones, because the state only are sim based franchises. We every now and then we'll jump in and play a little bit, but not much. Primarily sim. Think of Mr. Hurricane's Giants one that I think pretty sure he just finished, I think early this week, or maybe, well, no, it was definitely been last week, because I'm recording this on a Monday, that I believe he finished last week. If you've been watching him for a while, like the Browns, the Giants one, that is kind of the style of which we're going. A little bit different, obviously, with the state only. Kind of changes a little bit as to who we could draft. We could only draft from players who went to a college from those states, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. And like I said, every now and then we might jump in if it's a season that we're really pushing to get into the playoffs, and there's just a couple games or it's just we're not quite getting that job done, but we're close. I might jump in, play a few drives, help us try to push over the edge, or I might throw a bunch of interceptions. You never know. So that's kind of how that series goes. If you haven't checked it out, really do check it out. It is a fun series, and the way that it ends is fantastic. I really hope you guys, if you haven't already started watching the California Only Challenge, do check it out, because it's fantastic. It's one of my favorite ones I've done. Obviously love the Vikings, so I like that one as well. That is a fun series, but that one has just been a very dominant series. We've won 3 Super Bowls in a row. We're on our 4th season in total of the series, and it will end by the time Madden 23 comes out. So make sure you guys are checking those out if you haven't. And if you're just here for the Madden 23 content, it will be coming when the game comes out, and I want to hear what you guys want to see when it comes out. So again, make sure you're following over on Twitter. I hope we covered everything here that you were looking for Madden 23 franchise mode, as well as what's coming next on the channel. So Madden 22, as it's been on the screen for a bit, we will be waving goodbye to shortly and heading into Madden 23. Again, as I record this, will be coming out in a month. August 19th, I believe, is the release date. So really looking forward to it. Really good additions from franchise. We could see more in the future. Hopefully, again, I had a couple things that I would like to see, but we'll see if we end up getting those. Like I said, everything that was in this video, the actual screenshots from EA's video, as well as the blog post, I will have linked below so you can check it out as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, learned a little bit, as well as maybe joining the channel if you do want to see how the Madden 23 franchises go, or if you want to see how the Madden 22 ones have went. Make sure you subscribe and tick that bell notification to be notified of when my videos are posted. And if you like this video, go ahead and leave a thumbs up. It lets me know you enjoying it. Lets other people know you enjoying that they should check it out as well. So appreciate you guys watching, and until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.